Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition right here on 92.9 KVRE, streaming online at kvre.com. Beside Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, a big week in sports as it always is. Lots to talk about on this week's show, but first, how you doing this week?
Oh man, I tell you what, exceptional. We had a good week, and I mean ups and downs, of course, as you well know, but still on the most front, a good week of football, baseball, and even some good golfing going on. So you know what, a little bit of everything, not only regional, but on the national-wide circuit too, though. So good things, man.
Yeah, busy week here for this broadcaster, of course. On Tuesday, I had like 6 hours of baseball. On Wednesday, back-to-back soccer matches. On Thursday, of course, the Battle of the Gorge with Fountain Lake and Cutter. And, well, I guess it's what I signed up for. 3 straight days of broadcasts, and now headed into the weekend with a lot of great sports topics to talk about. Of course, we will talk about high school football. We will talk about National Park College Nighthawk Athletics today. We'll even talk about the MLB and some college football. But today's show begins in the NFL. Tracy, and it begins with one of the biggest stories that we saw out of week 2. It happened in Thursday night football between the Dolphins and the Bills, and it's about the quarterback Tua Tagovailoa for Miami Dolphins sustaining a big concussion in that Thursday night loss to the Buffalo Bills. On the play, he was scrambling up the middle for a 4th down conversion in the red zone when he lowered his head into the chest of Bills safety Damar Hamlin, remained on the ground for several moments in a fencing position, which looked eerily similar to the concussion that he had back in 2022, but eventually walked off the field on his own. It's the 3rd diagnosed concussion of his NFL career, and certainly a very scary sight to see on Thursday night football. This week, Tua was placed on injured reserve, where he must remain for at least 4 games, although the absence absolutely could be longer. A lot of speculation coming after this play. Of course, this is not the first time we've seen Tua sustain a brain injury in the NFL, just his 5th season as the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. And although reports indicate that Tua has no intention of walking away from the game right now, it is a discussion that's been all across social media whenever it comes to head injuries, concussions, or just injuries in general. How much is too much on a 26-year-old young man with a wife, with children, and still a very long life ahead of him? Tracy, what are your thoughts on this injury to Tua?
Mark, being on the scenes, watching football, calling football, playing football for years, yes, my ears ring every once in a while. But what you said a while ago, 3 diagnosed, okay? That was in the pros. If you look back on his history, and you and I spoke about this last weekend, and he's no telling how many hits he's taken through the years because he's very competitive. He does not bow out, and you and I remember this. We said, why is he not sliding more? And I'll be darned if he didn't come up, and I mean right away. And so diagnosed maybe, but we know at Alabama he took hits one after another. And how much is too much? Well, I don't know. Do you have something to happen to you and sent off, stretched out in the ambulance before it really happens? But here's another thing too. How do you feel about Hamlin? Is the one that made it really wasn't a tackle. The guy he ran into him. And Hamlin on the reverse was there last year, for the Bills. And
with cardiac arrest on the field.
So we're seeing these medical instances more and more and more, even though they're trying to do everything they can with all the different rules and regulations. What's going to stop the concussion protocol? Well, I'm going to tell you what, it's going to stop them when they get one, because otherwise this young man, just like you said, at 26 and had 3. Well, what's the number? I'm saying number 1. Because, my ears ring for this day, and our helmets weren't nothing like they have nowadays, or any of the padding for that most. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a family man. It's not like he hasn't made enough money, Mark. You know what I'm saying? But his competitive heart is what got us here. And we talked about this, if you recall. This is what got him to where he is. He could have slid. He didn't slide, and the results, him getting knocked out. But I say, and I may be being a lightweight on this, but after I've seen what's happened, these guys are bigger, stronger, faster. It's an episode from $60 Million Man.
Well, we've seen the injuries in the NFL. Of course, there's always been injuries in this game. It's the most physical game on earth. But we've seen the injuries, I feel like, ramp up in severity in recent years. You mentioned the Damar Hamlin incident, which maybe is really a fluke whenever you think about it. Just a very a freak accident. This and these concussions to Tua are freak accidents as well. Yes, you can make the case, dude, why didn't you slide? That's what they teach quarterbacks to do. If you're going to run the football, fine, run the football, but just slide. You see it out of Lamar Jackson. You see it out of Jalen Hurts. You even see it out of Caleb Williams, who's got some speed on him as well. You slide, and you try to limit those kind of hits coming in. You can't always do it. Tua did not do it in this situation. What has the NFL done in recent years? Well, they've added some adjustments to helmets. Some people don't like the aesthetics of the new helmet. They look a little different, a little wild out there.
Bubblish?
Well, they kind of do look like a bubble on your head. But, now when you see what just happened to Tua, does it really matter what the helmet looks like if it can prevent your head from sustaining a brain injury? We're talking about 3 diagnosed concussions, multiple injuries as the quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's only 5 years in the NFL and like barely into the 5th year in the NFL. 26 years old. He's got a wife. He's got children. This conversation came up back in 2022 on Thursday Night Football whenever he sustained a concussion against the Cincinnati Bengals, went kind of rigid down there on the field. It's really hard to watch, honestly. But in that post-game press conference, he was asked, hey, is it time to retire? This is a serious deal. And his comments back in 2022 basically said, and I'm just paraphrasing here, that he considered retirement for a time, but it would be hard to walk away from the game. He says, at the end of the day, it's my body, it's my health. I'm going to do what's best for me and my family. I love the game of football. I'm not going anywhere. Now, listen, none of us, and probably none of us out there listening to the show today, have ever played in the NFL. You can't put yourself completely in his shoes. However, he worked his entire life to get here. Football is everything he's done in his life to get to this point, whether it was peewee, high school, college, and now into the NFL. Such a small percentage of athletes get to this stage. The idea is to create generational wealth for your family for years to come. He has now done that, but when you devote your life to a cause like this and you're finally there, and I mean, you're still in your prime, really, when you're healthy. You're not in your twilight years of the NFL by any stretch. It's very, very hard to say, my time is over. I've worked my entire life to get here, but now it's gone too soon. But so many NFL players out there don't get to choose when they leave the game. Usually their body chooses for them, whether it's injury or, they're not the bigger, faster, stronger product on the field anymore. There's somebody younger that can do it better and for cheaper than what you're asking for, and then your career's over. But in this situation, I know Tua, has not commented specifically and said, hey, I'm out, but everything's leaning to him coming back once he's ready to do so. I don't know if it's the right call, Tracy. I believe that he's got such a long life ahead of him. With all the studies with CTE, we've seen the effect on players. We've seen suicides in the NFL down the stretch years after their game time is over. And, this is still so early after this injury. We don't even know what kind of effects we still may see out of Tua throughout the rest of just this season. So a very tough call. I think it's not a bad idea to at least consider hanging it up. Leaving the NFL doesn't mean you have to be away from football. I think the Miami Dolphins, I suspect that they would do very well by Tua to bring him into the organization to help as a quarterback's coach or help be around the team in some capacity. I mean, he's the best quarterback this team has seen since Dan Marino, plain and simple. They're not just going to let that slide and be like, well, all right, see ya. We'll start over fresh, new era. I think they would do right by him if he managed to walk away. It's just a matter of when he finally makes that call to do so.
Mark, and like you said, though, the competitive spirit, and he worked so hard to get to where he is, it is tough to walk away from. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see him doing it this is going to, 4 weeks is a long time. And I'm sure him and his love and his wife will have a big time meeting on this and stuff like that. But life's too short. Football is a career, and especially as a quarterback, there's not very many Tom Brady's out there.
No.
And I'll be honest with you, it is short-lived. there is life after football. And like you said, I will agree with you on that. There's so many different things that he could do in the front office, on the field, whatever afterwards. But I would be thinking of my kids right away. Absolutely. Not only, but here's the deal, Mark, not only in football, but in boxing, baseball, several sports we've seen this happen. In rugby, we've seen this happen time and time again. And the competitive level and the money makes it hard to walk away from. But I think it's something that he's, like you said also, until you walk a mile in his man's shoes, you really don't know. But as it is, I think they better get on this, and they better get on it quick, because you're starting to see, just like I said, players faster, players bigger, players stronger. And I don't care if you put a bubble on their head that's got enough neoprene on it to stop an elephant. It's still going to happen. You got to protect that noggin, and it's just that.
Tracy, want to look at some more Week 2 stories here. Want to get your take on the Week 2 as the whole. What was your biggest surprise, you think, of the entire week in the NFL?
I think that the top teams that came down. I mean, that was maybe this year we don't have the so dominant ones, and that was one of my biggest takes right there. The San Franciscos, the Cowboys, the Ravens, and if it hadn't been for, and I'm going out there, I'm calling it. If it hadn't been for a call, the Chiefs, and here we go again.
Yeah,
Don't get me started on the referees again. I'm done with that one, but probably not. You know that too, but yeah, and then also the Saints, the lesser teams that we saw coming up, teams that we're not even in the picture last year.
Yeah.
Atlanta making a big deal on Philadelphia. What in the world? So
there were some pretty big upsets for sure.
Minnesota with a backup quarterback.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that too, of course. With one of the biggest surprises that I saw, Tracy, and then I'm going to talk more about those 2-0 teams. I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow,
a team that continues to prove that defense and field goals can win football games, even if you have absolutely no offense whatsoever.
7.
Steelers kicker Chris Boswell has an absurd 8 field goals through 2 wins this season. He scored every point against Atlanta in week 1. He's responsible for 24 of the team's 31 total points this season. Justin Fields has 1 measly offensive touchdown. That is it. He's converted 4 field goals from beyond 50 yards. It's really impressive. Russell Wilson is nowhere to be seen, right? Justin Fields slowly getting comfortable with the offense.
Russell who?
Maybe. Look, this is a Pittsburgh team that looks like it actually has what it takes to win this division on defense and kicking alone, especially when you consider 0-2 starts for Baltimore and Cincinnati. What is happening?
Mark, and I'm going to be honest with you, you're the numbers guy, okay? And I know that, but I did a little bit of research too also. Of the last 12 Super Bowls, the winning team in the Super Bowl, 9 of them had the number 1 defense, not number 1 offense, number 1 defense. And you know as well as I do, it goes all the way back to Lombardi. Defense wins championship. And it's just that simple. Not only that, but who in the heck? The Chargers? What is going on there, bud?
Here's what's going on in Los Angeles. Now, listen, they're 2-0, and I'm not sure if they're the best team in the NFL, but I know it's a team that many are sleeping on right now. The Bolts quietly boast the best defense in the NFL with just 13 points allowed in 2 games and an undefeated record. I love Justin Herbert, former Oregon quarterback. He's dealing with a largely new set of receivers, but he's still flourishing. And the running back, J.K. Dobbins, he averages 10 yards a carry and already has 3 carries for more than 20 yards this season to go along with 2 rushing touchdowns. It finally looks like a balanced bunch for the Chargers, which means the injury-prone Herbert doesn't have to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. And look, it's never easy to be in the same division as Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but the Chargers do boast the second easiest strength of schedule in all of the NFL, and I think they could really make some noise as long as everyone remains healthy.
You didn't? What about the coach? Wait a minute. Did you just go through that whole spiel without talking about a new coach? Did you really do that? I mean, come on. I mean, in the same conference with his brother on the other side, you don't think he's got something to prove?
Hey, I don't think I even need to go to the coach there with everything that I have listed out there. Obviously, a well-coached team, well put together as well, because there were a lot of moves this offseason. Keenan Allen to the Bears. Yikes, who's Herbert going to throw to?
Yeah.
And it seems like he's going to be just fine out there.
The other Los Angeles team, because the other one's not even nowhere to be seen. We're not going there right now.
Injuries are extremely tough. And we'll cut it here. We'll go to our next segment when we come back. We're going to talk some college football when we return. Lots more to come. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE.
Second quarter coming up.
And we're back. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE. We're also streaming online worldwide at kvre.com. With Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. The second quarter of this week's show talks college football, where there is a new number one in the polls. Tracy, we talked about this during the break, and we feel like this is the right call. Texas, number one, sitting at 3-0. Georgia bumped down a spot after, well, whatever that performance was last week against Kentucky. How are you feeling about the new number one today?
Yeah, we called it, Mark. You know that after what we've seen already. Obviously a very offensive coordinated bunch right there with a good quarterback that's really making the difference, I think, even after their number one tailback went down. Of course, it's Texas. They're going to bring in 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the case is. Plus, a very stingy defense. They hadn't even really had to be on the field that much. But when they went up and dismantled Michigan, and after that, I mean, they are number one right now as it speaks. Non-conference is out. Okay, here comes the SEC. So not everybody's going to have a perfect season.
Right.
Okay, but of the non-conference games, I think Texas had the roughest route to get to where they are now, and I think they deserve number one. Georgia. Ohio State. Let me tell you who the dog is coming in. I think Ole Miss. You might want to watch out for them because they got a few yards averaging every game.
Ole Miss standing in the number 5 spot in the AP Top 25 poll. There are 6 out of the top 10 in the AP 25 that are from the Southeastern Conference. And I know there are people out there listening that say, listen, I will never, ever, ever root for the Texas Longhorns. I can't stand them. They're number one. When is Georgia going to get back on top? And I'll tell you, it could be as soon as the next poll coming out if... Now, they've got a very big matchup this week, Tracy. Number 2, Georgia versus number 4, Alabama to start SEC play. You have to think if Georgia is able to take down the Crimson Tide and do so, well, I think even by the slimmest of margins, beating number 4 might propel you back to the top spot.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Now these teams are going to, non-conferences over, conferences here. These teams are going to start going against each other. And just like you said, 6 of the 10 in the top 10. So nobody's going to go undefeated. And be maybe if they do go undefeated, they're going to be, in with that mix of 12, of course, for the playoffs. But as it is right now, you've got some very competitive teams in the SEC. Looking outside of the SEC, who's going to match up with them right now, Mark? I don't know, but I like that game coming out right now because not only with them playing not East and West anymore in SEC, it's all combined, so it's a rotating schedule. So, every one of them is going to be the game of the week coming up, but that ought to be the barn burner because, Monroe's not going to do anything with Texas, obviously. And I love the Thundering Herd, but there's no way that Ohio State's going to be even pressured by them whatsoever. And Georgia Southern, don't they play UCA anymore or something? I don't know.
Right. So there's potentially some cupcakes out there. But on the other side of the coin, Tracy, there could be some really cool upsets. I mean, if Kentucky can almost knock off Georgia, then literally anything is possible out there. The NIUs of the world taking down the big dogs out there like Notre Dame. So, I guess never say never when it comes to the turf of the gridiron for football. All right, let's talk about another big college football game happening for the Arkansas Razorbacks later today. 2:30 kickoff. Hogs at Auburn. Both teams are 2-1, and many expect this to be an offensive shootout. 3 games in, this is a Razorback team that is 5th in the nation in total offense and 39th in total defense. And I know 39th sounds bad, but they're only one of 14 teams in the entire country that's top 40 in both categories. I mean, here's the deal. You erase a bad second half against Oklahoma State, and this is not only an undefeated Razorbacks team, but likely an AP top 25 one as well. Was Arkansas's win over UAB a close call? More like overcoming a slow start to me, but at the end of the day, a win is a win for Sam Pittman's Hogs. In a week where Georgia can barely get past a mediocre Kentucky team, I'm not really concerned with 37-27 over UAB. I'm concerned with some defensive gaps that this team does still seem to show going in to Auburn. At Auburn, we know the offense is there. Arkansas is one of the best in the country in yards per game. They also lead the SEC in third down conversion rate. But I think for Arkansas to get it done against the Tigers, it's going to come down to simply defense, defense, defense.
Well, Mark, also we've got to straighten up penalties. You know, in all three games, we've had over 100 yards in penalties. And that will absolutely tear a coach's heart out. Plus, they come at the I cannot even say this big time, at the wrongest time, because an opportunity is one thing, but they do it right when they're 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 or something. All of a sudden, they get backed up 5 yards, and whether it's the snap count, of course, our center doesn't hurt getting, one thing is right now, they've got to straighten up that. You know as well as I do. You called enough games. You've been around me long enough. Turnovers and penalties will kill a team. I don't care if they're number 1 or 100. And it's that simple. We're going down in a hostile environment.
Oh, yes.
Okay? And I'm not saying that the refs, and I did bring up the refs again. I did do that.
You always do.
Okay. I'm not saying that they'll do anything as far as taking control of the game, but they will. And they're going to, you've seen it years and years ago, whether it was the call down in Florida on the line that would have sent them into the championship game or any numerous ones where the yellow flags were, or in the pro situation with Kansas City. But anyway, it's a whole nother story. But once again, we've got to clean that up because I don't care if you got the number 1 offense in the world and the number 1 defense. If you don't straighten up those penalties, which Sam Pittman, he was livid the other day. Livid. And we got to clean that up. Otherwise, it's going to be for a long day down in Tigerville.
Hey, I don't disagree with you. 2 pass interference penalties in the Oklahoma State game for cornerback Danico Slaughter. He's given up 12 catches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns out of that cornerback slot. And that's more than anyone else on this team. UAB's second touchdown of the game went through him. It's not just Slaughter, though. It's the safeties as well, responsible for defending the middle of the field, right? If the Tigers have done their homework, then I think TJ Metcalf and Jaden Johnson are going to expect to see more work come their way downfield. And on the other side of this, hey, Auburn switched quarterbacks very early into the season. Now the Razorbacks have to deal with Hank Brown, and they've got to get to him early and often. I want to see more of a pass rush. Arkansas has just 1 sack this season off of the defensive line, and 5 overall. Today is Landon Jackson's time to shine.
Exactly. When the big hype about him and everything, and I know he's getting doubled down, Mark. I know they're doing that, but if he's getting doubled down, shouldn't somebody be open?
Absolutely. They've got to get to Hank Brown early and often. They've got to disrupt his rhythm, and that will help create space on the scoreboard because in this game where so many points are expected to be scored, even just 1 turnover could change the game in this battle. On the road, hostile environment. This is a huge must-win game for Arkansas.
Mark, most of these teams, they defensive-wise, their strategy is the Tampa 2, the cover, 2 over the top, all right? What you've seen in Arkansas, though, is a cover 3, which means they're loose. They're playing way off the ball. And I mean, I didn't see them go man at all. And what they're saying is, like you said with that safety, he should be rolling over and helping with that slot receiver or whoever's coming along on a seam or a post route, and he's not doing it. He's not getting over there in time to roll. And I've seen it, and I've talked to other guys. He's watching the quarterback way too long, and that is his key. Don't get me wrong. As a safety, and I played it at the collegiate level, you're keying on the quarterback and the tight end. That's your keys right there. If the tight end goes to block, you know what's going to happen. If he's going out in the pattern, if he goes in quick, that means somebody's going long. Okay, so you got to rotate and get over there. He's not doing it in time. And just like you said, I agree with you. If he doesn't get up there, then we've got problems. But he's got to be quicker on the call. And that could be personnel. That could be the call coming in from the quarterback, which we've got to, and I say quarterback, and I mean the linebacker, who calls everything on the defense, the Mike linebacker. But we've got a good defensive coach over there. There's no doubt about it. But that right there, the communication, you heard me harp about this when I was coaching everything, when I'm calling the games, communication, and they're not communicating. We've seen the D-backs at Arkansas right now. How many years go back now that we're just been getting crushed? Years now. So you're right. Something's got to go, but we got to get off that soft temper. That 3 technique, nobody does that unless you're in a prevent. Well, hell, we're in a prevent every dang time, they seem like.
Offense is great, but it can't win it all by itself. The defense will have to step up in this one. Special teams as well. 2:30 kickoff. Arkansas 2-1. Auburn 2-1. Should be a great battle down in Auburn, Alabama today.
I bet Texas is going to beat Monroe.
Oh, man. Upset game of the week. Let me take a look here. Let me look down. You put me on the spot here.
Vandy, Missouri. Missouri's not playing real good right now.
That's a juicy one.
And I like them. I really do like them. Can Arkansas State even hold up to Iowa State after playing real tough at Michigan?
Here's mine right here. Oklahoma, Tennessee. Both teams 3-0. Oklahoma's ranked 15. Tennessee is ranked in the top 10 at 6. I think the Sooners have the advantage over Tennessee here. All right, much more to come on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition this week. When we come back, we'll have the latest in National Park College Nighthawk athletics news, and we'll turn things to the baseball diamond where the season is beginning to wrap up and the playoff picture becomes even clearer. We're back in a moment right here on 92.9 KVRE.
Third quarter coming up.
And we're back. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. And Tracy, this week in Nighthawk athletics news for National Park College, Coach Rich Thompson and the Nighthawk baseball program they hosted the 2024 Arkansas Junior College Sophomore Showcase over at Majestic Park in Hot Springs. 8 teams, including NPC, from all across the state of Arkansas in one building on one field with numerous Division I college coaches, scouts, recruiters, all there looking to fill out their rosters for the upcoming seasons ahead. And Tracy, it was a beautiful day for baseball deep in the heart of Arkansas, featuring the likes of not only NPC, but Southeast Arkansas College, South Arkansas College from El Dorado, ASU Three Rivers from Malvern, ASU Mid-South from West Memphis, ASU Mountain Home from Mountain Home, SAU Tech in Camden, and UA Rich Mountain in Mena. These are some of the best and brightest stars in junior college baseball. I've had an opportunity to see most of these guys play over the past couple of years, just seeing them in the NJCAA region to play. Fantastic pitching, great hitting, and a beautiful showcase that I think showcased the top talent of these baseball players, many of them homegrown right here in Arkansas, but others coming from all across the country and the world to play in junior college baseball in Arkansas. I think that they're all going to be playing at the next level next season, and had a very productive event earlier this week.
And that's what's encouraging, like we've been talking about. A lot of these kids that are here local, man, they're shining right now, and they're going to get a chance, to play at the next level, and also to see, what they're really made of. And what I like about it too, though, is that's some great baseball here in our own backyard that everybody can come and watch and just participate, and also encourage these kids to come out. And also, they're laying the groundwork for the future, and I think that's even more impressive because you're seeing a lot of these kids that are in high school right now, even junior high. They're saying, "Hey, we can stay at home and play quality baseball and get an education and get a chance at going to the next level." If we've seen time and time again, they go to maybe another Division I, or they go even further to AA or something. But I think it's really encouraging to see the way NPC has brought things up through the system, not only in baseball but in softball too.
We see it with a lot of local athletes. Of course, on the baseball diamond, you have the likes of Wesley Campbell from Fountain Lake, Brent Davis, the Lake Hamilton pitching superstar, Adrian Aguirre, the infielder from Lakeside. It's really easy for these guys to stay close to home, start their college education, get their basics, start building toward their dream career and their dream degree, and then go off to the next level to finish things off while still continuing to play the sport that you love. It really just makes sense, honestly. And a really great showing for Coach Rich Thompson's Nighthawks. They're always in the community, whether it's community service, out and about, and just trying to make a name for themselves. But of course, as somebody who played in the major leagues himself, He knows better than anybody how important it is to market those players who all have aspirations to play at the next level. This was a well-run event. I think all these coaches, everybody was out there for 6+ hours on Tuesday, and I think it's going to go a very long way in getting eyes on these guys. Now they can go forth and play their 2025 season when the regular season begins next year, and then those offers will start calling shortly in the months ahead, I'm sure.
Yeah, and time, just look where, think about this, Mark, and you've been there for this length of time. Think about where it all started, and just not really knowing what the future was going to be for Nighthawk baseball or softball or any type of athletics out there. And look now where it's grown and the potential that it has. And what I see is encouragement, not only local, like you said, though, but kids coming from all around, not only the United States, but the world to play. And I think that the future's bright. And I encourage everybody. I mean, seriously, if you get a chance, go out and watch these kids. Encourage them to come out and to play ball here on the local level. And you might be surprised. You're going to see some quality that's at the highest level.
All right, let's keep things on the baseball diamond, but let's turn our attention to the MLB, where all the divisions appear like they're pretty much locked up here, Tracy, but the wild card race is still quite interesting. So when we take a look at the division leaders at the time of today's recording, and I don't think it's going to change, Yankees, Guardians, Astros, Phillies, Brewers, Dodgers. But when you look at the wild card race, maybe Baltimore seemingly has it locked up in the AL, but we're starting to see a last-minute push from the AL Central for the final 2 spots. One of the Royals, Twins, or Tigers will likely be sitting home upset this postseason. Now, as of recording this show, Detroit has won 3 straight and 8 of its last 10 to surge into the race, while the Royals and the Twins are kind of faltering somewhat down the stretch. Seattle is technically on the outside looking in, but I think it may be too late for Mariner Nation. Assuming that Baltimore has this locked up, out of the Royals, Twins, and Tigers, who is missing out in October?
Well, you put me on the spot right there quick, but that's hard to believe that they're on the outside looking in. Detroit, even though their pitchers come on top right now here lately, as of late, that's a tough one. But the consistency is not with Kansas City. And I know they're sitting there tight right now on the bubble, but I just don't see them coming through. They seem to keep losing a couple, but if any of them right now, I'm going to go with either Kansas City or Detroit, because Kansas City's they're so topsy-turvy right now, Mark. What do you think?
I think Minnesota is shaking in its boots right now. This is a team that, when it comes to run differential, is not that high over 500. They've really kind of faltered down the stretch, 4-6 in their last 10 games. Not a lot of production there, dealing with some injuries, and with Detroit getting hot when it matters the most, probably the hottest team right now in the playoff race in all of Major League Baseball. I'm worried if I'm next door in Minnesota.
Well, and rightly so, but if we look at it right now, if they've got to worry about that, the rest of these teams coming up right now, of course, if anybody you're talking, and how can Seattle be outside looking in? I don't understand that. They were at the top there for so long, but their consistency, once again, is just not there. They can't seem to make any headway with the Astros. And neither one of us want the Astros up there, but hey, what it is, what it is.
It starts with the road, Tracy. The Mariners are 11 games under 500 on the road. They do not travel well, and that is absolutely the thorn in their side right now, with things getting really close to the finish line. Just under 10 games remaining in the rest of the regular season. I don't know if Seattle's going to have what it takes to overcome that deficit there in the wild card race. Certainly not in the division. Now, when we look at the National League, the Mets and the Diamondbacks are deadlocked for the final 2 spots, with San Diego holding on to a 2.5 game advantage. Atlanta is still in the mix despite losing 3 straight, but I think it's time to officially say farewell to any playoff hopes for both the Cardinals and the Cubs.
Yeah, and I hate to say that, as many of those fans we have around here, but Atlanta, even though they had so many personnel changes and injuries too, but now they're starting to level out, and the Braves, who we thought, now I don't know about you, but I personally thought it was a lock. I thought we were going to see Dodgers Braves again. Obviously, of course, they snuck out of it last time, but for Atlanta to be on the outside looking in, and the Mets, what in the world is going on with the Mets up there? One day they look like they're ready to take on the world, and the next day I don't know. They couldn't beat the Travelers.
I think when it comes to the New York Mets, honestly, I think it's just about time. I mean, the roster that this team has built, the pitching that this team has built, it's a team full of heavy hitters, all-star caliber players that just were not able to put it together in previous seasons here. And when you look at the Braves, I think it's honestly kind of wild, especially in a division like the NL East, which is so good with the Phillies right now leading the way. But the Braves, 11 games over 500 and still not good enough to be in the top 3 spots for the wild card race. I think it's really telling of just the strength of the National League altogether. But that big losing streak for the Braves has really allowed the Mets to shoot up into that spot in the wild card race. If Atlanta gets it together down the stretch these last few games, I think they absolutely have what it takes to overcome New York and take one of those spots. Their destiny's in their hands right now.
Yeah, and it'd be great just to see some fresh looks. I guess that's what I'm saying. But obviously the Atlantas of the world, the Dodgers of the world, Philadelphia. But here comes the Mets. Now, obviously, Philadelphia. What can you say about them? I mean, I think from top to bottom, we talked about them early in the season, just how good they are in offense, defense, everything. They had the most players in the All-Star game, and I think at this point right now, here's a serious question I've got, Mark. Can any of the ones that are on the bubble or any of one of these, can they? I mean, of course, there's always a possibility, just like the Diamondbacks last year. But can any of them really go the full distance and win a Series 7?
On paper, no. The Phillies are 31 games over 500, and that's part of the reason that the Braves can't get in is because the Phillies are so good. But 31 games over 500, the best record in baseball. This all looks like it's going to be maybe an NLCS clash, Dodgers-Phillies. But honestly, we may be looking at a repeat of, I guess it was 2008 Phillies and Yankees, because it really feels like all roads are leading to that matchup.
Yeah, and of course with the Yankees, I'll just tell you right now, Judge, of course, going on a pace that's unbelievable right now. I think he's got close to 150 ribbies. Unbelievable. Of course, league leading everything as far as hitting home runs and such. But once again, and as far as their lineups now, I think necessarily on their offense, they've got some of the best hitters in the league, especially that 2, 3, and 4 slot, which no pitcher would want to go against. But they consistently, anybody can beat them, at any time. But this, I think, I'll be honest with you, Mark, I think this year is one of the most competitive seasons I've seen in quite some time. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree too. We're seeing a new era of baseball superstars here, one that we didn't even talk about, Shohei Ohtani. By the time that we come back next week on next week's show, we may be talking about the 50-50 club, 50 home runs and 50 steals for Ohtani, who's really just a glorified DH at this point, not even pitching for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, this is one of the best to ever do it. We always talk about, man, this game's been around for over 100 years, for over a century, and we're still finding people doing things for the first time. You got to take notice of that level of talent, because you're seeing one of the all-time greats right now in 2024.
And I'll tell you what's astonishing to me, though, Mark, how many cameras, how many people are looking at Ohtani right now? And I mean, he cannot go anywhere. And with all the PR, bad or good, at the first of the season, which we well know, documented, I mean, and he consistently comes out and performs night after night. And you're looking at somebody, and now compared to Judge, New York, the Big Apple, that's a big market. But you're talking about this is international. You know how many cameras are there, how many reporters are there from Japan and also from all of Indonesia, and everybody's watching him. But he comes out and performs overnight. MVP? Possibly not. But in my book, most definitely.
When we come back, we're going to talk some high school football. The fourth quarter comes up next here on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 at KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
For the fourth quarter of today's show, we take it to the gridiron once again for high school football. Some big matchups coming our way in week 4. Many teams coming off of bye weeks and getting ready to start their respective conference openers. And we start with Jessieville and Magnet Cove, Tracy. A big matchup here between the Lions and the Panthers. Could be a tough test for Jessieville, but this one is at home for the Lions. Magnet Cove has a couple quality wins this season over both Gurdon and Poen. When it comes to Jessieville, Magnet Cove, who do you like in this showdown?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Magnet Cove, we sort of just overlooked them, I think, because coming up in class from 2 to 3A and, primarily a new coach, he's starting to, his second year. But after he had a big week last week, the whole team came together. I think it's going to be a tough one right now. Jessieville struggling with the last couple of weeks as it is. If we look back a couple of weeks, ago, Mount Ida. I mean, of course, Mount Ida, I'm not downplaying them by no means, but Mount Ida's down this year. So offense is just struggling. And Magnet Cove, I think that they're hitting on all cylinders right now, even it's early in the season. But now we're starting to get into conference play, and things are going to start changing a little bit better. Whatever trick plays you had, whatever, personnel that you wanted to shift around and change has been done. And would have I ever thought that the Panthers would take the Lions? No, but I think it's going to be a good matchup right there.
I don't think you're wrong. Of course, Magnet Cove delivering Poen's first loss of the season. Poen, who's defeated both Mountain Pine and Cutter Morning Star this year. Here's another matchup for you. Lake Hamilton at Siloam Springs. The Wolves with an impressive win over a very tough Arkadelphia Badgers team a couple weeks ago, and I think it's done wonders for this team's confidence heading into this long road trip. Since that 5-point Week 0 loss to Lakeside, Coach Gilleran's Wolves have scored 49 points in back-to-back games and is ready to tackle conference play with authority.
I think the biggest problem that they have right there is the travel, and whether it's Siloam Springs or Mountain Home, whatever, and for that to be even in their conference is ridiculous. I'll be honest with you. We hear people talk about this all the time. Benton's now switched over to the east side of Arkansas, and why these kids are having to travel 5 and 6 hour trips is beyond me and everybody else that's listening to them. And hopefully the AAA is also. Siloam Springs been down for years now, and I don't see them mustering it up enough. Tommy's got it in the right direction now. He's figured out his bread and butters. You've seen him make changes on the line and also in defense too. And I think that would have made the difference when they played Lakeside. As it is right now, they come back with another W.
In Class 5A, another big matchup this week, Lakeside at Camden Fairview. Yeah, a 5-point loss to Robinson stings, but I don't think it's time to jump ship from the Rams just yet. This is still a top 5 team in Class 5A, and I think they can prove themselves with a big win over the Cardinals. Camden Fairview is just 1 point away from being 3-0. They lost to Class 6A El Dorado by 1 point and have quality wins over Arkadelphia and Pine Bluff. This is likely the game of the week in the state of Arkansas.
Mark, we touched on this earlier with the collegiate level and at the pro level. They've got to take care of business on the field and with the penalties. That lost them a huge game back a couple weeks ago with Robinson and such. You've got to control yourself on the field, doing stunts on the field, and so many discipline. And that's not a Coach Rock team. Discipline has never been a problem. And so far right now, he's made adjustments also after having so many technical fouls. And that's something right away that they've got to, figure out, because over 100 yards in 2 of their games as far as penalties, losing them 1 of their games. And I just don't see them losing another one in that reference, because I know Coach Rock, and he'll right the ship. There's no problem with it. Lakeside, I think they're still going to be competitive in even coming up in the latter part of this fall.
Hot Springs is at home against Little Rock Parkview. Parkview's in-state winning streak is over at the hands of the Bryant Hornets. Hot Springs has lost 2 straight after beating West Memphis in the season opener. You never know what can happen under those Friday night lights, especially when they're the lights at Joe Reese Stadium.
Mark, I know Coach Burnett, he's sort of struggling right now because he too is trying to get people in different positions. Quarterback play right now has been a problem with them, interceptions and such, but his defense has to come together. But you're talking about a couple of brothers that coach a very tough Patriot team. Let me tell you something. There may be the mystique of Joe Reese there, which he was my coach at one time, and there's always something about playing under the lights there. There's just always is. But Coach Burnett's got to have he's got to get these kids committed in the right circle. A very tough Airedale team. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be there in the finals also. But I think they're struggling right now with personnel.
Mountain Pine didn't just earn its first win of the season by beating Cutter. They dismantled the Eagles offensively and defensively, maybe letting out some aggression after that 0-2 start, Tracy. This week they get a juicy matchup against Hector, who's really struggled to put points on the board. There's no place like home, and the atmosphere at Stanley Mayfield in Red Devil country may be electric in this one.
I think Mountain Pine's finally found out where they need to be, and they've put, once again, the undefeated season's gone now, Mark. Obviously, yes. Okay, undefeated. So they put that in their past. I think they've really straightened things out, especially with that running game. I mean, they have really put some points on the board here of late. Hector is not going to be a problem.
An uncharacteristic start to the season may be an understatement for Cutter, who does boast one of the best quarterbacks in Arkansas. This week, a tough road trip against a revitalized Perryville team. The Mustangs are 1 point shy of being 3-0 this year. They had a big win over Bigelow. I know that one stings for you, 30-12 in the Perry County rivalry. This could be a tough road trip for Cutter.
Once again, they've got to figure out where they're at because their receiving core is not what they had a year ago. Top prospect, you're right, at QB, but as it is right now, they can't stop anybody. Their defense is being manhandled right and left, and if they've got to show up the middle right now because it doesn't matter how many points they put on the scoreboard, they're not stopping anybody right now. So they make one mistake on offense, and the other team's going to come back. Cutter needs to right the ship on defense right now.
Last but not least, the 7-4A opener. The Fountain Lake Cobras travel to the pit to take on Oklahoma commit Marcus Wimberly and the Bauxite Miners. Everything the Cobras have endured so far leads up to this moment in a 7-4A conference that's fairly open in regards to its 5 playoff positions.
Mark, you saw Bauxite, who was touted as one of the, probably going to win the 7-4A award. You've seen him struggle. But what they don't see is what he's tried to do with the other games in non-conference. Of course, the run is their bread and butter. We know that already. And they're going to stabilize that and come back. They've tried some different, avenues as far as throwing the ball just to see where they are down the lane. I think you're going to see Coach over there go, look, we know what our success rate is. It's running the ball. And I think they're going to get right back to it. And whether it's Oklahoma commit or 4 others that are D1, I think we've got it.
That's our show this week on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. You can follow the show every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on KVRE and text the show at 501-915-1300. For Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. We'll catch you next week right here on 92.9 KVRE.